Hello and welcome everyone to the Q&A session for our upcoming course, Movement is Medicine with Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women, the 7-week journey into an empowering mind, body, spirit practice for self-care, inner peace, and renewal. I'm Lisa Bonis, and I'm really looking forward to hosting this Q&A conversation for the Shift Network, where we'll explore the teachings of Daisy Lee and address questions about her upcoming 7-week course, Movement as Medicine with Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women, which begins Monday, December 7th. And a little later, I'll explain how you can participate in the course, even if you can't attend the live sessions. But first, I want to introduce our guest. Daisy Lee, a respected leader in the Qigong world with more than 25 years of teaching experience, is certified as a Level 3 Advanced Qigong instructor and clinical practitioner by the National Qigong Association of America. A past board member of the International Qigong Science Association in Beijing, she lectures and conducts workshops and instructor trainings internationally with a specialty in women's health. Her signature program, Radiant Lotus Qigong, is now taught worldwide, and the accompanying DVD series, Beginner Qigong for Women 1 and 2 and Qigong for Women, became bestsellers on Amazon within the first month of their release. And in just a few minutes, we're going to open up for your questions for Daisy. But first, I want to welcome Daisy, who's going to begin our time together by leading us in an opening practice. Welcome, Daisy. It's so great to spend time with you again.
Hello, Lisa, and hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm going to share with you the showering Qi movement, which is a classic in helping to balance the energy field, the way Qi field outside the body. So whether you're standing or sitting, I'm going to be standing when we do this movement. Okay. Okay. We'll begin with our feet hip width apart for women, and feel the energy of the feet meeting the energy of the earth, even through the tile floors or whatever type of floor you're on. And the top point of the head connected to, let's say, a North Star, a personal North Star in the sky. From there, come back down through the body into the circle of light between the palms, and we'll begin. Sink a little as if you're about to sit in a chair. Now, shoulder, elbows, wrist, and fingers as we open to the sides and straighten the knees. At the shoulder height, turn the palms around to face the sky. So the earth meets the sky. We bring in the energy from above and below. And now, as the palms face over the head, exhale as the hands scan through the field outside the body, clearing and clarifying the energy outside the body. And disperse anything that feels stagnant or blocked. Allow the earth to support you in recycling that energy. And we'll do it 2 more times. Just sink a little as if you're about to sit. Inhale. At the shoulder height, turn the thumbs back, the palms will follow. Exhale. Inhale up. Slow, gentle exhale down and through the center line of the body. Relax the shoulders. Relax the whole body. Disperse. Come back to the circle. We'll do 1 more time. Gently sink. Open. Inhale. Inhaling the earth's energy. Turn and exhale. The yin qi meets the yang qi from above. Inhale the sky. Exhale all the way down, if you can, in 1 long, slow, smooth breath. Release and disperse. And at the end, post the weight on the left leg, step in the right, and sweep, crisscross one palm over the other, come back to center. Okay. And I'll come back and we'll talk.
All right.
So just
Thank you so much,
a little
Stacey.
something. You're welcome.
Yeah, great way to start this out. So as usual, we have the rest of our time together for our viewers to ask their questions of Daisy as we prepare for her upcoming course, Movement as Medicine with Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women, which begins Monday, December 7th. And if you want to check out the website and learn more about the 7-week course, you can visit qigongforwomen.net to see the full description and to register if you'd like. So let's go ahead and get into some questions. If you have a question for Daisy, go ahead and type it in. I'll be happy to read them aloud. In fact, a question came in, Daisy, while you were doing the demonstration here. This is from Jesse, who says, is it important to feel the energy moving while doing the practice, or is it still working even if I don't feel anything?
Good question, Jesse. Often at the very beginning, you may not feel immediately unless you're a more sensitive type. But over time, you're going to find that as you do the practice and circulation increases in the body, that you're going to feel more balanced. And it's when we're doing Qigong, we're working with subtle energy. And subtle energy is not it's not always like a striking, it's not like a martial energy. And so what we're very concerned about when we practice Qigong, especially this type of Qigong, is a sense of vitality, a sense of peacefulness in the body. And so it helps us to slow down the erratic pace of all that's happening around us. And over time, as I say, it will start to be more prominent. The subtle energy becomes more clarified, and you'll be able to notice feelings like tingling in your hands or a little extra but comfortable type of warmth, especially in the winter. Yeah, so hopefully that helps to orient you in terms of the sensations in the body.
Okay, thank you for that. We've got a question from Nicole who says, my husband and I are in the process of trying to get pregnant. If I get pregnant during the course, are the movements okay and safe for early pregnancy?
Yes, in fact, Nicole, that's fantastic. And what you'll find is that you do have more energy, and there are modifications for those that are pregnant. And I will be going through that in each session. Everything is done more gently, and you accommodate the body as it's growing. So, for example, if you're 6 months into your pregnancy, you might feel a little heavier. Hopefully you will. And you'll notice that perhaps there's a little extra weight, in the legs, in the lower trunk of the body. So you can sit and do the upper body movements. If you can stand, I have a couple of women that went through their pregnancy doing my certification program. And they were, this one woman in particular was fairly fit. So she went through the whole program with not too much modification, but for those that are not used to a lot of body movement, you'll be doing it seated, and you won't be doing inverted poses. Yeah, thanks, Nicole, and all the best to you with your pregnancy.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Daisy. Now, I know you're not going to be surprised by this question at all because you've taught so many courses with the Shift Network. We've got people who've taken your previous courses. A lot of them are asking, what's different about this course specifically than other classes they may have already taken?
Okay, that's a very good question, especially because of the women and maybe a few men that have taken the 7-week and the 9-week. So what is different about this? There are additional segments that I've included in this program that are also updates from the previous 7-week program. So if anyone has worked with me on the Shift Network programs before, this 7-week is a combination of the 7 and 9-week programs. So you're getting quite an impact for 7 weeks. We're doing all of this Tibetan sound healing. We're doing modifications in the self-massage. There's additional material as well. And so it's quite a comprehensive package to be taking. I think also it's important to share that, when we're doing practice alone, it's a very different experience. It may be enjoyable, definitely, but when you're in community with a group of women that are going through the holiday season together and the stresses of life at this time, you're going to have the support that would be ideal during probably one of the most stressful times of the year. So there is that. There's the community forum, which we call affectionately the Lotus Lounge page, where you get a lot of support, both from myself and my assistants this year. So that is in addition. And there's that sense of community and continued deepening and learning that when we're doing something by ourselves, we may not get the feedback that we need when we're in session together. So because these are live sessions each Monday, you're going to get more in-time, real-time feedback. And any other questions that you have during the week, we can answer through the either the next Q&A for the following week, or in the Lotus Lounge, the community page on Facebook. Okay, so that's the difference, and I hope you'll still be able to join me. It's, how when you go to a class, for example, in yoga, and you continuously go to that class, the information you get the first or the 10th or 100th time can be very different than what you got the first few times. And I dare say that that's the same with Qigong, that there is a continuity, a deepening, practical applications, subtleties that you may have missed in a previous program that becomes really much more clear, and energy is your personal energy is served better through that. So that's what I can say about that. I know a number of students have asked, and hopefully that gives some clarity on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it does. Thank you so much for that, for addressing that question. Here's another one that a couple different people are asking, since you just brought up the Tibetan healing sounds. For example, Anya is asking if you can talk more about that first, but then Judy's wondering, will the course include sound toning with movement?
Yes. The Tibetan sound healing system is a series of 7 sounds that are repeated 7 times. So it's very different than the Chinese system. A couple of the sounds might be familiar, but it is actually different than, what you classically hear as the 6 healing sounds for both men and women. So it's very unique to the female form. We will be doing one of the sounds each week, so we'll cover all of the healing sounds by the end of the 7 weeks. And Lisa, you had, what was was there another part of the question that I needed to look at?
I think you pretty much answered it. One person was just asking in general about Tibetan healing sounds, and the other one was asking if you'd be combining sound with movement.
Right, the movement aspect. Yes, in this system, there's accompanying movement with every sound. And so the hands direct the energy towards a certain center of the female body. And that's another thing I should probably address, because I've had students that were transgender who were on hormone therapy, and this works well for them as well, especially as they're going through the adjustment with the hormonal system.
Hmm. That's interesting. Thank you so much. In fact, I'm glad that you brought up hormone therapy because we have a question here from Sherry who says, I'm postmenopausal and taking HRT for severe hot flashes. The HRT is now causing spotting, and my doctor is talking about a hysterectomy. I'd like to avoid something so severe. So is Qigong something that might be able to help me with this?
Certainly, certainly the students that I've had, Sherry, have really either eliminated or reduced drastically the hot flashes that they've had. So they don't need HRT. What I think you will find by the end of the 7 weeks that things can be much better under control. We actually have specific pressure points, acupressure points that we use for hot flashes. And there's also the whole sequence that is going to help with that. So hot flashes come partially from impact on the liver. And so the heat is pressing up, and when the liver is blocked and the qi is not moving smoothly through the organs and the meridians of the body, you can have these hot flashes. And so what I recommend is that you try the program, see how it affects you, even if you're on HRT. And so, in a few weeks, you should have some semblance of shifting in that manner. And you'll find out, because if it was me, I would certainly prefer to avoid a hysterectomy and try a system that has been, by many, has been proven to be very effective for that. Okay, so give it a try and see what happens. We always say that we are our own guinea pigs. We have to try it on our own bodies so that you have the proof that you need, rather than trusting what I say or what my students have experienced. Yeah, you have to find out for yourself.
All right. Thank you for that. And this actually brings up another question, but let me first say that Daisy's not offering medical advice, so this is general conversation. So if somebody is taking your classes and they would like to see if there is an effect, but they're taking a prescription, would they work with their doctor about lowering the amounts? How do you recommend people actually deal with their prescriptions?
Well, as you mentioned, Lisa, I'm not a medical doctor, so we always default to the doctor's advice. But you can certainly tell them that you're doing this qigong practice, and if you find that you have an effect, then you can ask them, would it be advisable, given these circumstances, that I can lower my my hormone replacement therapy, and see what they say. That's always the recommendation that we make for everyone's safety. Yeah, and you'll see. Yeah, again, it's the experience in your body that is the most important. Yeah, and then if you have a good effect, then continue on.
Okay, perfect. So they will be working hand in hand with their physicians while working with you. So, okay, thank you for addressing that. Let's see, we've got a question here from Angela, who wants to know, is this course good for people who are new to Qigong?
Most definitely, Angela. Yeah, this is like the beginning course, but the information is, compact, you could say. So all the information you need is in the 7-week program. And for first timers, for those that have been in practice for quite some time, I have students that have learned this for 10 years, and they still continue because they just gather more information through the practice. And as I evolve, or as the system evolves, it also does for the students. So definitely for first time, it's an excellent program.
All right, great. Now let's go ahead and dive into A little more complex question here. This is Darlene, and I'm sure there are other people who have this same question. Darlene is saying, over the past many months of lockdown and scary news, I've fallen into a state of a lot of excess weight, lethargy, and depression. While your class looks very helpful, I'm concerned that I won't be able to get up off the couch and do it, even though I really want to, and I know that it will be good for me. Surely I'm not the only one who feels this way. What do you recommend for those of us caught up in this unhealthy pattern who just cannot find a way to get started?
Well, you'll be happy to know that part of the process, part of the program addresses that. We often, when we're in community, there's no, you could say it's not a pressure to perform. This practice is for self-care, and it is an encouragement, an invitation to practice, to do the parts that are doable for you, even if you don't get off the couch for the whole hour, but you can do it for 15 minutes. That's going to be 15 minutes that you would otherwise maybe have, lay down and felt, helpless or dejected. Now, these times, this whole year that people have gone through has been a major stress. And it's not just COVID, but the fallout of COVID. And so the inability to go out, to not know what it means to be free, to be taking care of children or elderly parents or someone, maybe not necessarily children or parents, but a partner that is not well. All of these things impact our stress levels, our hormones, our cortisol levels. So all of that is going to have an impact. And sometimes you might feel like the last thing you want to do is do something for yourself. And that is the choice, the commitment that you would need to make to yourself. You will have this information. What will you do with the information? Yeah. There's no one is going to command you to do anything or demand you do anything, but it will be your choice. And so there's an invitation by myself, by the community of practitioners and students that are going to participate. And I think that is certainly one of the greatest support systems that, at least in the previous programs I've had, that there's such it goes well beyond even the physical, emotional, and mental process of the practice. When you go into the Lotus Lounge page, there's so much support by not only my instructors that have been certified that are supporting me, but also the other students and their wisdom. And often so much is shared about personal circumstances or an enlightened moment or pictures or questions about what is happening or answers about what can happen. And so I feel so good about what has unfolded in these programs. And so the invitation is always there. See what happens once you try. If you just feel like it's something you want to keep for later, and it's something that you'll practice with on your own time, at least you'll have the videos and the transcripts, the written transcripts even, and the audio to follow along after. So if you're not able to make it on, for the live session, you will have these to follow afterwards. So that's my encouragement. I know these times are challenging, but we can only rise to meet our potential. No one can demand it of us, and the opportunity is here. So I invite you to be a part of this change and shift in yourself with a really wonderful, like-minded group of people.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. Let's take this just another step further from somebody who says, this is Tori, who says, I've been bedridden. Are there exercises I can do while lying down to help me work my way into getting up and about?
Oh, good question, Tori. It's like a runner. You might have heard about runners who imagine the movement that they're going to do, and the same receptors go off, right? So even though you may not are not, presently moving, when you imagine yourself following the movement with me, the same receptors, almost the same things are going on to give your body that signal. So what we're concerned about when you're in bed is, can you give yourself the reminder? Can you imprint the information into your body so that when you're ready and there has been sufficient repair in the tissues, then you will be able to get up and you will be able to do the movements. So it's highly encouraging, because often what happens is, if people just sit there and they're looking at a blank screen and there's no information that is being shared or absorbed through the field of the body, nothing changes. But when you have an intention to absorb the information, to see yourself moving, that is the first step in gaining movement back. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Yeah, I think that was very helpful. Thank you. For those of you who are just joining us, we're here with Daisy Lee, learning about her upcoming course, Movement is Medicine, with Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women, which begins Monday, December 7th. And you can log on to qigongforwomen.net for all the details and to register. So let's go ahead and get back into questions. It just seems like people are having such a hard time. So many of these questions are sort of focused on that. Thank you so much for addressing this. Here's a woman, Margie, who says, I'm in my 70s, and although in good shape, have not been active much, and I also suffer from occasional vertigo. So I'm wondering if doing this will be hard for me.
Margie, I don't know if it would be hard. The movements themselves are not difficult. If you have vertigo, I invite you to do it seated. And 70 is a fantastic age. We call it the new second spring. I'm 57, so I'm making my way there. But 70, and especially if you have some level of fitness, great. Whether or not, with Qigong, remember, I don't know if some of you know, but some of my teachers are over 100. And so that bodes well for those of us that are like a third or, half of that age. And so better to start now. Some of you who have heard of Tai Chi, which is more complex than Qigong. Qigong is used as we said earlier, movement as medicine. And so it's used for healing in particular. And so at 70, you can only gain. So what happens is, when you accumulate and process spent energy, you will gain extra, vital energy. And so the bones will potentially become denser because of the cupping and shaking routine. The vibration that is used through the Tibetan sound healing not only helps you to access your voice, but also tonifies the thyroid gland and the different parts of the body that we're activating. So for all those reasons, vital health is possible at any age. So 70, being the new second spring, in my opinion. Maybe I say that because I'm 57. I think that you can only gain from that. Yeah. So hopefully you'll be able to join me, Margie.
All right. And I'm glad you brought up cupping, because there is a question here from Terry, who's just wondering, what is cupping and how does it work?
Okay. In traditional Chinese medicine, cupping is an actual glass bowl or ceramic bowl in some cases, where they put it on the skin and they pull out what they call the purple sand, or stagnant energy that's caught in the deep tissues of the body. But in the Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong system, we're simply using the cup of our own hands. And so it's a little well, so you bend the fingers so that you form a cup, and you're methodically going through all the tissues of the body. And what that does is, in this very gentle way, it pulls out stagnations from the tissues of the body. And it's I liken it sometimes to, but gently, beating the rug of the body so that the dust and energetic debris come to the surface to be released. So it's a layer technique. And I think what is important here too, because, I've had women that have gone through trauma in their lives. And in this instance, we are using our own hands with loving touch, and we're gently moving through and patting the body. So that what happens with the cupped hand is that you're pulling gently this stagnation out from the surface tissues, and even deeper, even as far as the bones. And so what that does is it sends a signal to the body, release and energize the cells, move the blood in any area of the body where there's stagnation in the blood, which can happen with women. And you start to feel the effect, not only more energy, but the release of toxins, which I feel is especially vital during the holiday season when we're not necessarily eating the right foods, for celebration time or during celebration time. Okay, so you'll get the impact of that over the course of the weeks. Yeah. And so that's what I can share about what that cupping technique is. Yeah, there's shaking and cupping. Shaking routine has been proven to help with bone density. So for those that are in their senior years, their sage years, this will bring greater density to the bones. But for everyone, it is for detoxification and buoying up the energy of the body.
All right. Well, this just sounds wonderful all the way around.
You'll have to join me, Lisa.
Pardon me?
You'll have to join me.
I have taken your classes in the past. Yes, I will be doing this one as well too. Yeah. I love your work. Here's a question from Ashley, who says, this is a completely different topic. What about ADD? Can Qigong help me focus my mind? I'm afraid I won't be able to concentrate enough to follow the slow, deliberate practices.
Ashley, that's very interesting. I have a wonderful teacher on Kauai, where I used to live, and she teaches her young students the showering movement that I shared earlier. This is for ADD. It is to actually clear and lower the intense kind of vibratory energy that is coming sometimes often from the mind or too much caffeine. And this will definitely help. If you were to say, oh, I have problems meditating, I can certainly understand that, because if you have ADD and you're going from that to just sitting still and silently, it's almost impossible. But because you're using movement, synchronized with the breath, you're going to be able to slow down. So at the beginning, what I would guess is that at the beginning, your breath might be shorter, faster, and more rapid, maybe more shallow. But as you practice Qigong, one of the great benefits is that your breath broadens and lengthens. Yeah. And so you're going to expand the breath, and the movements are often timed with this breath. So if at the beginning it's shorter, not to be concerned, because with practice, you start to deepen and bring more oxygen into the body. And you'll probably be able to focus much better, as these young students were doing on Kauai. Yeah, so this is one of the great benefits of practice, is that if you did have HDD or ADD, I'm not sure what the HD, high definition mind, from another dimension, you will find that even as simple as the movement that you learned today, the Shaolin Qi, you can use that and progressively get slower with the movements, slower with the breath. And if you're on medication, you might not need it after a while. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for that one. Now, we've got a couple people asking about emotional pain. Specifically, Jasmine's wondering, is there a sequence of movements to help with grief of loss and pain?
Jasmine, yes, definitely. That's one thing that the system addresses quite well, I would say. And it's really, part of the focus of my work has been the release of blocked emotions, or the release especially of grief or fear. We hold that in our bodies, and the lungs, and since COVID is a lung project, we have these ways of helping to release the grief from the body. Yeah, so we're going to use pressure points. The movement that is often prescribed is a balancing movement called Flying Phoenix. And it is the image of the phoenix rising from the ashes. So through the challenges that we've gone through the grief and the sadness of loss of, circumstances that we've had to encounter through probably no choice of our own. And yet, if the body does not release this sadness, it starts to impinge on our ability to open up to new love, to self-care, to all of life, really. And so what I might suggest as we're together is maybe to even do this movement now. So cross the hands. It doesn't matter if it's left or hand over right or right over left. You're going to follow the clavicle across and just dip down to where that little divot is, the little valley, below that V. And you're going to just use a few fingers and stimulate those points. For about a minute, maybe 2. You can do it as long as you need, actually. And we're stimulating the lung 2 point on the lung meridian. It's an acupoint that helps to release grief. So after about a minute or 2 of that, cover those points as if you're giving yourself a hug. And warm the points. So you might need to warm your hands even, and then place them over the lung points. But it is a gesture. Even if you look at the body mudra, it brings balance to the body, but it also brings balance to the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Okay. From there, we would take a deep inhale. And then as you draw the hands away, exhale. Soft breath, separate the hands, and then just draw downwards with the palms. And give it a little shake, and just fold the hands over the lower dantian, or just leave it on the lap. Okay, so that's a simple movement, but it often helps with releasing sadness or grief. Over time, what people find is that occasionally, if there's really deep grief, that they might cry. And that's a good sign, because that grief is being released. There's no shame in tears. We certainly have had a year that is cry-worthy. We've had a very tough, challenging year. And rather than cement the toughness in our bodies, we need to help it release. And so this simple movement and these simple pressure points can be a great benefit for that. Okay, Jasmine. So I hope you try that maybe more than once at home and see how that affects you.
Mm. All right, perfect. In fact, here's a follow-up question. In terms of emotional stagnation or release in emotional pain, what if we're not clear on the source? Will this approach still work?
Yes, that's the best thing about Qigong, is that it's systemic. And so if there's a project, I call any kind of illness or emotional stagnation even a health project. Yeah. And because if we name that thing that is difficult, on one hand, you identify it, but on the other hand, you give it power. And so just knowing, okay, we have a project, we're working on this project. Let's find some peace around it. It's here. It's here for our learning. It's here for our growth. It's here to challenge us. But the great thing is that there's solutions and there's potential to resolve these health projects. Okay, so that is the first opportunity, is to see through a different lens. Yeah, not to get too caught up in the details. Yeah, we know them, they've entered our life, but now where do we soften around it? How do we find the solutions? And how do we bring balance through the whole body, not just the one health project that we're working on? Yeah, because we want to come into a place of harmony and peace within the body. The less stress there is, the greater healing happens. Yeah, and that's also a sort of equation, right? That if there is a high volume of stress, the stress is the same, but how we view that stressor is the only difference. Yeah, and so you can affect change by how you see, by how you view the situation. And so I'll be teaching about that. There's a formula in the first module that I'll be going through, which is talking about vertical alignment plus neutral compassion equals stable lead energy. And so always we're going to learn to stabilize. Yeah, we're going to learn to find our alignment so that we are more connected to the earth and the sky and less connected to the disturbances or the chaos that surrounds us. Okay, and so I'll be teaching about that. It's actually part of the foundation of Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong, and I would say, such an important thing to learn, because you can carry this with you throughout life. Anytime that I'm under stress, I go back into vertical alignment, remember the state of neutral compassion, and become more of an observer and a listener. The answers will come, and the Qigong supports that. Okay, so
right.
That's helpful, Jasmine.
Yeah. And so we've been talking about sadness and loss and grief, but Lisa here is asking for a flip side of emotions. What about anger and rage?
Oh, okay. Well, that's valid, because there is going to be that. We are humans, so we're going to have the whole array, or sometimes disarray of emotions. And so that is liver energy, right? That whether it's a stagnation that's in the actual liver and is blocked, or we have good reason to have rage or anger, then if you keep it in and you bottle it inside, it's going to explode at some point and impact the smooth flow of the body. On the other hand, if you let it out as a rage and it lands on somebody else that you love, that's not also productive or helpful to yourself, because you probably have regrets about that. So all of this system is to help manage these emotions. It not only physically manages the flow of qi through the channels and the organs, which already will improve the emotional state, right? So when one thing improves, it directly impacts the other. So if you improve the emotions, the physical flow is improved. If you understand something mentally and understand the workings of how the emotion came to be, and you're able to kind of decode it, and you have resources like this vertical alignment and neutral compassion, then you'll be able to better manage what is happening in that emotion, right? So it's a little bit like, a doctor dissecting, or a scientist dissecting, a situation, and to some degree analyzing the situation, but softening from another perspective, softening around the situation so that it doesn't contract your energy. Yeah. So the contraction of energy is where the issues are. Yeah. When we contract, everything, gets held in the body, gets held in the organs or the tissues, and then it impacts your liver function, also corollary functions, not just the liver, but rage and anger certainly are very impactful on the liver. Okay, and we find sometimes that those that are that need to be on a lot of meds, sometimes that emotion of anger comes up, and it's because of perhaps the effect of medication on that organ. So just, what you're going to learn is to be watchful of these, of these signals. Anger, there's no problem with anger, but if it's not resolved sooner than later, then it becomes a problem because it starts to grow and fester. What we're trying to do with this system and with these practices is to level down those peaks of emotion, make it more manageable, start to have a new understanding of the impact on your own body. Okay, and then the movement and the breath will also calm things down and bring balance and homeostasis. Okay.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for that. I'm looking at the clock here. We have time for a few more questions, but before we do any more Q&A, I want to go ahead and give a few details about the course itself. Again, it's called Movement as Medicine with Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women. And this is going to be really a powerful 7-week journey with Daisy under her expert guidance, where you'll build your own daily Qigong practice featuring gentle breathing, the 7 Tibetan healing sounds, self-massage, and empowering Qigong movements that you can use right away. And the 7-week course takes place on Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, beginning Monday, December 7th. And if you can't join us live, as I mentioned earlier, that's fine. You won't miss any of the teachings. You'll receive audio and video recordings, transcripts, and all course handouts on your course homepage. And you get to keep these things forever. You can download the recordings. It's not limited to just the 7 weeks. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that we offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on all of our courses, giving you until December 21st in this case to make sure that you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect in a private Facebook community group so you can connect with one another. Also, everyone who registers receives the Movement as Medicine bonus collection. First, you receive a video teaching from Daisy entitled 5 Essential Practices of Radiant Lotus Qigong. Then you'll get a video dialogue with Daisy and Sharon Smith called The Radiant Power of Women United in Qigong Practice. Next, you'll receive an audio talk with Daisy entitled Blossoming into Your Potential Through Radiant Lotus Women's Qigong. And when you register by midnight Pacific on Thursday, December 3rd, you receive this extra gift, a video dialogue with Daisy and Dina Delaney called The Power of Intention and Trusting Your Voice. So Daisy, before we get back into questions, let me ask, you've taught a few classes with Shift. What are you most looking forward to sharing in this next upcoming course?
Well, Lisa, there's so much, because we're actually bringing all the folds of this first practice, Radiant Lotus Level 1, together in 7 weeks. I'm really looking forward to sharing that and also more than anything, connecting with a community of women, and maybe the odd man. And there's just such a camaraderie amongst the group that I've really come to love the people that have been part of these programs, and I'm quite sure that will happen again in this next program. So I'm very much looking forward to that community.
All right. It sounds wonderful. There's a question that's just come in that's really caught my attention here. You mentioned earlier that hot flashes are connected to the liver, and also anger and rage are connected to the liver. Can you talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that rage is going to consume you. They can be separate things, but they both impact the liver. The liver has to process a lot of emotions, and amongst the toxins in the air and the food that we eat. So it's one of the biggest organs, and it has to do all of this work. And so the smoother we can make that flow happen, the more that we can release these contracted energies and emotions, the more smoothly it will function. And so I will be giving a lot of tips on that about how to, but also the actual, not just the practices, but other tips in terms of foods that might help. I always recommend that people drink, if they have this kind of impaction in the liver, that they should drink filtered water. There'll be other advice, but that's part of it. There's a combination of factors that can affect any one organ. And so if it's not one or the other, sometimes it's both. And so we have to find ways to gently, but somewhat methodically, begin that release process. And that way you can grow your balance and grow your equilibrium, grow your joy for life, and your relationships improve, your health improves. That is the real key of why we're doing this is, this is medicine for a woman's body. And from there, anything is possible, is how I've always seen it. And I've certainly been blessed in my life to learn these techniques from my teachers in both China, Tibet, and the West. And so whenever I can, whenever I recognize that there's an interest and a need, I always share this practice. Sometimes it will be not anymore because I'm not on airplanes anymore, but I'd often meet women that were going through, if I had someone sitting beside me that was going through something, and I'd be able to offer a technique that might help them. So we're at home now, and we can learn something or share something that can really impact our health in a really beautiful way. So that's my hope for anyone that enters this program. Yeah, so thank you for that, Lisa.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. Now here's a question from Dodie. In fact, a couple different people are asking this. What time of day is ideal to practice women's Qigong? Is there a time of day when it's not beneficial?
There's no time that's not beneficial, but what I would say, the cupping and shaking, which is a little more vigorous, I wouldn't do that too close to bed. Yeah. So I would leave at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half for any of the practices, so that you have, it'll revitalize you, but then you want to end with a showering qi practice, for instance, so that you go to bed. It'll actually help you sleep because energy is moving smoothly through the body. So there's no bad time to practice. But as I said, just some of the more vigorous movements like the shaking and cupping, I would leave a little extra space before bed. Yeah, because we're all in different time zones, right? Some people will be maybe from Australia or South Africa. I've been amazed at where people come from for these courses, and it's quite an honor to be able to teach globally without leaving my home.
That's one of the good things about working remotely is we get to reach the entire planet. Let's end with this final question here. This is from Elena, who's wondering about the form that you use regarding opening and closing with the right leg rather than the left. She says, in other Qigong forms I've learned, we stand in Wu Qi and then open to the left. My natural inclination, she says, is to open to the left. Is there some important significance to opening to the right rather than the left?
Interesting question, Elena. It's a women's system. The left side is considered the female in most systems. And so what we're doing is we're posting and substantiating our energy on the left side. So we post our left leg and then we lift our right leg and step into the center with our right. Yeah. And so the active energy meets the stable energy of the female Mother Earth. And that's why this is done in the female system. So it might be contra to what you've learned in the co-ed systems. Yeah. And there's no harm in doing it the other way, because we work both sides anyway. We practice with both sides in many of the movements. So not to be concerned about that. But try it. See what it does in your body.
All right. Thank you so much. Time always goes so fast with you, Daisy. This has been a fascinating hour. I want to thank our viewers for being with us today and for all of your terrific questions. Once again, Movement as Medicine with Radiant Lotus Qigong for Women begins Monday, December 7th. And again, you can visit qigongforwomen.net to learn more and to register. So, Daisy, before we let you go, do you have any final words for our viewers?
Just that I'm very much looking forward to meeting you and sharing these 7 weeks with you. I wish you the best through the holiday season, regardless, and look forward to starting on Monday. Take good care, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Daisy. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Like I said, I really always enjoy talking to you. So thank you for being here.
Likewise.
And once again, thank you to everyone who joined us today. On behalf of all of us at the Shift Network, I wish you well and look forward to having you on this course or perhaps another one in the future. Have a great day, everyone.